Today's guest is bringing the heat when it comes to freedom, food, and foundational health. Witt is a two-time national bestselling author, international speaker, Primal health coach, and CEO of Pure Basics Collective. You might know him from his viral videos with over 1 billion views and counting, or his totally unapologetic stance on natural health and personal sovereignty. From raw dairy to raw truth, Will is on a mission to wake people up, to help them reclaim their health, their autonomy, and their connection to real food. His latest book, Do Not Comply, and his online farmers market are just two ways he's making ancestral health not only accessible, but unignorable. He lives in Florida with his dumb dog, Rocky, where he walks the walk on regenerative living. And today he's here to talk all about it. Hi, I'm Erin Power. I'm a health coach, a health coaching educator and mentor, and your host of Health Coach Radio. This podcast delves into the art, science, and business of health coaching. Whether you're aspiring to land a coaching dream job or to embark on your own entrepreneurial adventure, we cover it all. Our mission is to help you grow your career, elevate your income, change the lives of the clients who need your help, and leave a lasting mark in this rapidly growing field. It's time for health coaches to make an impact. It's time for Health Coach Radio. All right, well, here we are. Great to have you. We have lots of ground to cover. We have lots of ground to cover because you do a lot of stuff. You're an interesting fella. But
Thank you.
As all podcasts like to start, we're going to go with the origin story first. So let's talk about, there's just so many origin stories we can go with you. Let's start it with your sort of health, your personal health turning point. What was it in your personal health that brought you to the world of just caring a lot about nutrition and health?
It was actually when I was 24 years old, I was living in Los Angeles. And before then, I was basically like everyone else. You drink and, eat terrible food. And it's just what you did. You didn't really care until at 24 years old, I got diagnosed with gout. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? What 24-year-old kid is getting gout? Like, that's for old people. And so I went to the doctor and they started telling me about all these things, cut out red meat and all that. They didn't tell me anything about lifestyle changes or anything like that. It was basically just like, cut out red meat. That was basically it for getting rid of it. And so I tried that and the gout persisted and kept getting worse and I didn't really know what to do. So I started looking things up online and there was so much conflicting information out there from what the doctor had said that it was like, actually, you can eat more red meat. How about more saturated fats? How about more raw dairy and things like this? And also, getting more sunlight and being more active and grounding, things that stop inflammation in your body. And so I did all of these things, it's like, I don't know what else to do at this point. And it completely healed my gout. I haven't had gout in, 3 or 4 years because of that. And I've just lived a completely different lifestyle versus, young guy in LA to now living in Florida.
Wow, gout. That's one of those things that, well, my dad had it. So yeah, old guy disease, right? Is it just purely an inflammatory process?
Yeah, they talk a lot about, uric acid in your feet and things like that and the buildup of that. But, I'm kind of this new kind of people, or not necessarily so new, but getting more traction of that, all disease is basically caused by inflammation in your body. And so, gout is basically just inflammation from eating terrible foods, processed foods, from these highly processed polyunsaturated fatty acids, from the seed oils and all these different things, drinking alcohol, all of that has a negative effect and causes that inflammation in your body. And that's really what I think causes the gout. And that's different than, the mainstream of what really they think gout is and how it can be solved, and that's why they always prescribe don't eat red meat and these kind of things. But in reality, like the saturated fats and all of this from the red meat and from the raw dairy is actually very helpful for the inflammation in your body and helps fight a lot of things.
Cool. Okay, so that's the origin. And many of us have some kind of weird health thing as our origin. And, I know those of us that are kind of more in the ancestral health space, we tend to go down these paths, like how can I maybe there's a solution here somewhere within my body, and by changing diet and lifestyle inputs, I can feel better. So you had that outcome. But like you do a lot of stuff right now. Take us through where you are now. What keeps you busy now? Because I want to be able to start from this origin story and then bridge the gap to where you are now. So give us the lay of the land where you are now.
Yeah, so I am the CEO of a company called Pure Basics Collective, and essentially we are I guess you could say you go into a health food store, a Whole Foods, a Sprouts or something like that, and you go in and someone says clean, natural, simple, healthy, and then you look at the ingredients and it's a bunch of garbage that you would never actually want to put into your body. And so we basically came together, me and a couple of guys, and we said, why don't we create a place where people don't have to ask those questions? They don't have to Google everything and know that if this is actually okay or actually clean or this. We've already done the vetting process to make sure that these products and ingredients are the best of the best, no greenwashing nonsense on Pure Basics. So people can come on to Pure Basics, and we're able to live sync all these different stores from across the country who are making these products and put them all into one place, so people can do single cart checkout with all these different products. So they can get 100% grass-fed, no vaccine beef from Texas, and get some pure tallow skincare from California. We have this guy doing like wool pillows from his own sheep in Idaho that are completely clean. We have right now just about 150 vendors and just over 2,000 products of all sorts of stuff. We really want to be like the target of the healthy space. We understand we're not competing with, Amazon or something like that for people's dollars, but for these people who actually do really care about their health, I think we're doing it a lot differently than anyone else has ever done it.
No doubt. So so I can understand, you're not holding inventory.
Exactly.
You're just the conduit between, you're this incredible conduit between these vendors and the consumer.
Yeah, basically, with my audience and being able to market it out to a lot of people, we're able to, because some of these products, like we have these one people who I always love shouting out because they do these tallow-based potato chips. They're called Beefy Zone, right? And they have these sour cream and onion potato chips. And when you think sour cream and onion, you're like, oh, that must be the most processed, disgusting, sour cream, whatever. They make these with these natural herbs and everything, and it is by far the greatest chips that I've ever had in my life. But they're not selling this in some grocery store or anything. It's all on their own website. But we really wanted a place where it's like, okay, people don't know about what you're doing, but it's fantastic. How can we get this out to more people? We want more people to know about what you're doing, because not even just like it's good for you. I would say like 10 years ago, getting into the health space, for a lot of people might be watching, it was like everything that was healthy tasted awful, right? Or was not actually, didn't smell good or whatever. Things have changed a lot, and things are really now very tasty, very natural, very good for you in that same way. And we just want to amplify those types of people who are actually doing the hard work, who actually care about the people they're making the product for.
That's amazing. Like, you're absolutely right. It's so much easier in some ways to adopt kind of a, clean, anti-inflammatory type eating pattern with all the amazing food products that have emerged. Easier yet not easy. To your earlier point, there's a lot of greenwashing and kind of just dodgy marketing. Food marketing still permeates even the natural, healthy food section.
Oh, yeah.
Right into the weeds on those sour cream and onion chips, though. Is it like dehydrated sour cream and like herbs?
No, nothing like that.
Okay.
No, it's like fresh herbs and things like that. Is really, really good. I recommend everyone try. They also have a salt and vinegar one if you're a salt and vinegar person. But, okay, fair enough. Talking about what you were just saying, and even you have the vegetables and the fruit getting like 70% of their nutrients depleted by the time they get to the grocery store. So I do understand that it is very difficult for people, because when you think about health and wellness, like honestly, it's very easy. Like we shouldn't need health coaches, because in a sense, because it's honestly so easy. And I don't mean to sound, arrogant or anything, but in the sense of like, move around, eat foods with one ingredient, and go outside and get sunlight, and you're going to be okay. Like, of course, extenuating circumstances happen, but for the most part, like, you'll be all right if you just follow those three things. But we've made it so difficult, and people just want your money from everywhere.
Absolutely. There's a lot of dissenting opinions, unfortunately, in the health and wellness world, and even the coaching world. People might think that perspective is kooky, but
it's too easy.
It is too easy. We can tap into the ancient wisdom of the body, and I personally think this could be just my echo chamber. Maybe yours is the same, but I think the health consumer is starting to come around. Obviously you have a successful business doing this, people who are seeking out these products. Do you have a sense of do you have a sense of who these consumers are? Are they sort of biohacker types, health optimization types, or do you think you're getting Gen Pop, regular everyday consumers?
I think in terms of the men, you're getting more of kind of the biohacking type of guys, they're buying our mastic gum and stuff like that, But in terms of like the majority of our customers, like 75% is mostly women. especially like not necessarily older women, but moms. You know, the COVID pandemic did so much to people, like all the people who left California, all the people who left New York, moved to Texas, moved to Florida, all of that. And it's like they wanted to get back to a more simple, natural way where people aren't telling them what to do. And so that sort of market, I think, has kind of blasted this new Make America Healthy Again movement and all that to just new heights. And so the majority of the customers, the people we're seeing, are women who, you know, might go to a normal grocery store and say, what is all this garbage that's in here, and say, I want a natural alternative. So they come to Pure Basics or, you know, something of the sort.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Interesting. That's an interesting sort of splintering maybe or pivot for some sections of the population. Probably pretty exciting for somebody in your line of work. I just want to go back to one thing, and I'm getting really into the weeds on this, but I'm super curious.
That's okay. Yeah.
You mentioned a second ago, just in passing, you know, because of soil, mineral depletion, even vegetables and fruit are less nutrient dense than they were. Have you sourced more nutrient dense produce? Is that something that you've seeked out, or is that impossible?
No, it's most definitely possible. Myself, I have about 25 fruit trees on my own house. So I grow a lot of my own fruit and, you know, as much as you can, you know, living to having it be in season and all that, you know, no GMOs and, you know, having strawberries all year round. But I do my best to grow my own food and do my own garden of vegetables and things like that. And all last year for about 5 months or so, not all last year, but 5 months of last year, my girlfriend and I, we worked on a raw dairy farm, and it was a regenerative agriculture farm. So we learned basically everything there is to know about raw dairy, caring for livestock, caring for chickens, slaughtering chickens, growing your own food, all of these kind of things in a very regenerative way, because it's just the most natural and beautiful way that it can be done. And again, like, you just do this. Like, you know, there's so many people right now talking about health and especially raw milk and all these things. And I was like, I actually want to go out and do it so I see what it's all about. And it's like, once you do this, you realize, like, this is so much better. You know, it's like you can't go back after that. It's like opening Pandora's box and trying to put it back. You can't put it back. You know this now. And every time you go and eat Pizza Hut or, you know, some corporate lunch that you know is bad for you, you feel terrible afterwards. You almost feel a little bit guilty because it's just not the same. You know what I mean? So doing everything that you can to really do these things for yourself and not rely on somebody else, I think, is really the key to so much of this health stuff.
That's cool. I was in my garden last weekend. I don't live somewhere that's good for growing things. I live in Canada. It's not great.
Oh,
not
yeah,
great.
that's true.
Yeah. One time I had, do you remember the Locavore app? There was an app you could have on your phone. I don't know if it still exists, but it would tell you what's in season locally. It would geolocate you, tell you what's in season locally, and it would actually say snow for 6 months of the year as a joke. Anyway, yeah. I was in my garden. I was listening to The Omnivore's Dilemma, Michael Pollan's book. Mm-hmm. And Michael Pollan spends a long time on Joel Salatin's farm and goes through kind of what you kind of went through at the raw dairy farm, mm-hmm. you know, seeing everything from how he tends to the pastures to how the cows and the chickens and everything rotationally graze, and even to slaughter and processing and that kind of thing. And I was really moved to do something like that. I'm just amazed that you did. Are there any give me like a cool story or a cool takeaway from your time on the raw dairy farm?
One of the craziest things was actually going and slaughtering the chickens. I'd never killed anything before. And I get there, and the guy who's the owner of the farm, he was this like Catholic Irish guy, you know, very kind of just to the point kind of guy. And he's like, today we're slaughtering 50 chickens. I'm like, all right, I've never done this before in my life. And it was, you know, kind of scary at first, because you're like taking this chicken, you're putting it in the funnel and then slicing it open, and it's a very sacred act, mm-hmm. you know, something that a lot of people don't realize. Like, you go to a restaurant or you go to the grocery store and you see like meat or anything like there, and you don't really appreciate it. But once you actually go and you have to slaughter it, you have to kill that animal to get your meat, and you also raised it, it's a completely different process. And I recommend anyone who has the space to definitely do chickens if they can, mm-hmm. meat or eggs, but preferably meat, or have some sort of animal livestock that you have to take care of and then use for your own family sustenance. It's a scary thing, but it really gives you an appreciation of what farming is all about and how important it is. You know, people don't have that importance because they just go to the grocery store and pick up whatever they need. Yeah.
Gosh, that's so interesting. Do you have any animals, any livestock?
No, I don't. I have a huge dog. His name's Rocky. He's 110 pounds.
What?
And he's basically, I found him in a dumpster in Los Angeles when I used to live there.
Oh, poor Rocky. Yeah. What kind of dog is he? Just a big mutt?
Yeah, big mutt, lab, mastiff mix, something like that. He's very not smart. A great dog, but a very dumb dog. I've never had a dumber dog in my life, but I love him. I love him.
Oh, good boy. Well,
Yeah.
I have enough acres here that I could do some beef. I could do some chickens. I just haven't pulled the trigger yet. But I will say that re-listening to the omnivore's dilemma, reconnecting to the idea of the sustainable approach and that's not the right word. What's the word I'm looking for? Is this
Regenerative approach?
Yeah, regenerative. Thank you. It has influenced my grocery shopping to a certain extent, which I think is one of the points, what I guess the impact that you wish to make with your store, right?
Oh, definitely. I mean, even thinking about, like you're talking about, when you're doing regenerative farming, that's going to be 100% grass-fed beef, right? Mm-hmm. But marketing at some of these like beef companies, I mean, they know that if they have their cows in pens and then they come and feed them grass that they mowed, they still count that as grass-fed, but they're not actually out on pasture. And so like actually making sure that you go and get that food from a farmer that you trust, who's actually doing things the right way, is so important, because I can guarantee you that the majority of these food companies, especially the big food companies, don't care about you at all. And they will tell you anything to sell you their products and boost up their margins. Really going and checking all that out, whether that's on something like Pure Basics or a local farmer's market or anything like that, and checking these things out is imperative to your health and your family's health.
Yeah. Are you a health coach who wants more hands-on coaching training? Are you thinking about becoming board certified? Primal Health Coach Institute's Master Coach Certification Program checks both of those boxes. It's live, so you get to ask questions as you go, and we cap the number of students for each round so you get individualized attention and plenty of opportunity to practice your coaching skills with faculty and peers. Coaches become great with experience, and this course fast tracks that educational experience so you don't have to spend years learning directly from clients. You'll know exactly how to coach for optimal results in just 12 weeks. It also prepares you to sit for the National Board of Health and Wellness Coaches exam so you can become a board-certified health coach. We only offer this certification program twice a year, and it fills up fast. So be sure to learn more at primalhealthcoach.com and reserve your seat soon. How would you describe the impact you wish to have with Pure Basics Collective? Like what's the mission, the driving force that gets you out of bed? How do you articulate that?
That's a fantastic question. To be honest, I saw my story and my health, and I saw I was going downhill, and I see so many people struggling today, especially like I'm 28 years old, and people my age, not even just physical health, are struggling. Like you have all this cancer of young people now, which is unprecedented, but you have anxiety and depression and mental disorders and all these things going wrong with young people. But most people are not talking about the fact that so many of these problems come from your food. They come from the things that you are eating. And I see young people, like I was just in Los Angeles last week interviewing people on campus about all sorts of different things. And it's like these students are like lethargic and they can't look you in the eye and they can't form complete sentences and they're nervous. And I'm like, just being like, it's so disheartening to see that. And I know that so much is not just because of, cultural factors or social media, but because of lifestyle factors when it comes to diet, nutrition, and moving around. Like in sunlight. They don't do these things, and thus they suffer. Their mind suffers. And we're about to have a generation of people who are coming into the workforce and going, even further in the workforce, who are just don't know how to think and are slow and lethargic, and you have AI taking over. So I know I'm kind of going on a lot of different things, but you have this generation of students and young people who are just not ready and are not living out the true potential that they can. My thing has always been about, if you've read any of my books or, any of the stuff that I used to do before, a lot of the health stuff was about people finding their passion, people finding their purpose, their meaning for life, what drives them, what gets them up in the morning, like you just asked me. And to be honest, if you are not in good health, so much of that other stuff doesn't matter, especially if it's things that you've done to yourself just out of sheer laziness or not knowing that you can fix to make yourself, a lot healthier and a lot better.
Mm. That's a little thread I kind of want to pull, is sheer laziness versus not knowing. But just to reflect back what you just said, it does feel like humans are generally struggling to function increasingly. And there probably are, to your point, a lot of factors there. It does seem to me, to us, because you and I are, we're in this world, but diet and lifestyle seem like easy levers to pull. Why do you think people aren't pulling them?
Because I think there is a almost caveman instinct to want to conform, to want to be like everyone else. You know, if you were a caveman and you weren't like everyone else, you would be left behind, you know, potentially. And so this instinct that we have to want to be like other people, I think drives us more than anything else in the world. You know, look at the politics that we have today. It's part of the reason why I left so much of the politics that I used to do, because I think it's gross and just aims to divide people where that division isn't necessary, right? But people want to be a part of some group. They want to be a Republican. They want to be a Democrat. They want to be this type of person. They want to be liked by other people. And saying, okay, I'm going to go and do these new health things, these new lifestyle practices that are different than what everyone else is doing, is a very scary thing to do. You know, going outside of the norm, getting outside of your comfort zone, going and taking a risk, trying something that is different. Most people in my situation, when they're told that they have gout and they need to cut out red meat, or that raw milk is dangerous for them, they will just comply. You know, this title of my second book was Do Not Comply, because of how important it is to not comply with these kind of things. And I just think people are so scared to be brave. And especially the social media makes it even harder, because the social media just makes it, you know, you want the likes, you want the views, you want the followers. And thus you have to be as similar to everyone else as possible to make that happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. So kind of this idea of people don't know better, maybe so they can't do better. And then there's this other piece, which maybe was like a laziness, but maybe it's more of a fear. It's more of a fear response, like the fear of the unknown. I don't know if it's the fear of the unknown.
Yeah, or ostracization.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So Do Not Comply, pretty bold book title. Give our listeners the premise of the book.
You know, when people hear Do Not Comply, their mind obviously goes to COVID, first of all, you know, and the vaccines and the masks and 6-foot social distancing and all that. But to be honest, the book's about a lot more than that. It's about not letting anyone turn you into a slave and take away your faculties to be able to think. There are so many people in so many different ways, so many different groups, elites, all sorts of things, who want to control you, who want to turn you into a mindless person. I mean, going back to, you know, the young people, it's very Brave New World-esque in the way that I look at it, where, you know, they go through a very uniform school system where they're taught to be obedient to authority. Then they go to college and they basically just party their entire way through. They get out into the workforce and they answer emails all day, living in some urban city where they don't have to go doing anything, you know, courageous or brave or passionate, going to the same bars as everyone else. Like, it feels very dystopian to me in that way, that people are just like very in their boxes. There isn't, you know, that level of passion or creativity, I believe, was present even, you know, 50, 60 years ago. And so I think that there is a group of the elites, and whether it's big pharma and big food, big media, big tech, whatever you want to call it, who are trying to keep people down and keep them in these boxes because they'll be consumers forever. And so the message of Do Not Comply is to be your own person. Be the person who says, okay, I see what everyone else is doing. That doesn't seem like the way to live. I want to do something different. I want to do something brave, passionate, risky, you know, because I believe that it's true, good, and beautiful, despite what society says.
Yeah. I'm just thinking through who the audience for these kinds of messages is. And I think about this because, you know, trying to bring this around to, you know, this is a health coaching podcast. Ostensibly, you and I are both health coaches, although I'd be curious, actually, before I continue, do you practice as a health coach, or did you ever, even for a little while, work with clients?
A little bit, but mostly, to be honest, I was doing it for free. You know, I was just helping people out for free who were people around that I wanted to kind of test it out on. But the Pure Basics launch basically got ahead of me, and I have my whole site done, donotcomplyhealth.com and everything like that for my health coaching. But no, I haven't launched my practice yet.
You got busy.
Or my coaching yet.
Yeah.
Yes.
You got busy. I was finishing my thought, but I think about, so in the realm of health coaching, we have this idea called the stages of change, the trans-theoretical model, which is, you know, to put a very, very blunt point on it, some people are ready for change, some people aren't. And the ones who aren't ready, don't even worry about them because they're not going to change. So, you know, messaging like this is really for the people who are ready. How do you think you get that message, if at all possible, to the people who aren't ready?
That's a fantastic question. You know, to be honest, that comes in many different forms. And I think that, like for me, for the gout, right? Like going back to that and saying, okay, I need a change in my life. It took something really horrible to happen for me to say that this is now the case. You know, it's like a couple going through all sorts of things and then they're about to break up and then they finally say, okay, maybe we can look at some things in our own life and change the way that we behave with each other. You know, it's like something almost has to hit rock bottom. But again, like going back to Brave New World and that type of mentality, things are so good for these people. They get soma all day, they get orgy porgy, they get every sort of vice that they could ever want, and everything's cared for them. What sort of thing would make them want to, risk the harshness of a different reality and improve themselves that is different than other people? So there has to be some sort of catalyst in that way. Almost, it's kind of Nietzschean in the sense of like the will to power and self-destruction to finally ever be able to find yourself.
Yes. Or the pain of staying the same has to be worse than the pain of change.
Exactly.
Something
Exactly.
Like that. Yeah. Amazing. Okay. Major pivot. You ready? Hang on.
I'm ready.
There
you go.
Your videos and your content has massive views. You've reached over 1 billion views. So how are you using your media presence in your business to educate around natural health?
I just made a video about this the other day, and
A meta.
Yeah, exactly. No, you've been watching my videos. I know it. I can see. But it's kind of strange. Like, this is what makes me almost feel a little bit guilty. I feel a little bit bad, right? Because I really believe in this health stuff. I've gone and done the work. I went and got my health coach certification. I live this way. I went and worked on a dairy farm. I really believe in this stuff. But then you have a business, and it's not just about talking to people about what is true. It's like, now I need to worry about marketing and sales and tech and all these different things. And it's like, I want to make the videos that, just share this information with people, but it's like, well, then how do I sell this? How do I sell the product and do all these things? So I feel very conflicted actually a lot of the time between like marketing and actually making things that I'm passionate about. I definitely feel like my best videos come through when I'm not trying to market something and it's just something that I actually feel really passionate about. And that's, what gave me a lot of my following in the first place. And so trying to, really maneuver that line, I would say, if anyone else is watching right now who's saying, how do I market for my own health business and do these kind of things? The best videos for me for doing this kind of stuff, or the best posts, were things where I just wanted to go and talk about something that I believe in. And there's nothing to sell, anything like that. It's just, here's what it is, and I'm giving you this information for free because I know it and I want to help you. And then they become dedicated because they say, okay, this person is a trustworthy source. I like what they have to say. And then eventually they will, purchase from you or get a client, become a client in the future, I think.
Yeah, I think that's actually amazingly sage marketing advice. You can imagine that, we have health coaches at various stages, beginner, intermediate, advanced stages of business. And almost everybody wants to know the secret to hacking the algorithm or going viral or getting a big following, because an audience does help us help more people. And I think what you just shared is just the best advice. Just find something you absolutely can't shut up about and then don't shut up about it. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah. We don't have to worry about the viral hook. We just keep saying it.
Yeah. It's like once you start, one of the pitfalls that I think a lot of people fall into is the sense, and I've been doing this for a long time. So I see all the people who have gone up really fast and then also go down a lot. And I've been able to stay consistent, for the last 8 years and continue growing. One of the things that these people really struggle with is the fact that they're trying to please everyone, right? Like you have this message, like maybe it's politics or it's health or any of these kind of things. And you're saying, okay, I want to get everyone to be this healthy type of person, or I want everyone to believe what I believe on this. But it's like, instead of doing that, there is millions of people in America, all these different people. There's got to be at least, a decent sized chunk of them who agree with what you're saying, or at least have an open mind to what you're saying. Those are the people you should be going after. Like, I'm not with my messaging going after like the person who will shop at Walmart till the day that they die and think that anything health related is stupid. Like, if they don't want to listen to what I'm saying, that's okay. That's not the person I'm going for. We're trying to make messages that are as palpable to as many people as possible and all that. But to be honest, like, find the audience that is your audience and make the stuff for them that you believe is true. That is what you really believe. And then people will start to latch onto you and say, okay, I really like this guy. He's about what I'm on, and I can follow him and want to eventually, get coaching from him or whatever it is. If you try to market to everyone, you're pretty much marketing to no one.
100%. Yeah, that's great advice. I mean, there's 3.5 billion users on Meta. So even if you're just hanging around Instagram and Facebook, there's way more people than you could possibly ever engage with anyway. So just carve the smallest niche. And I think what people get afraid of is, what if I'm debunked? What if some big creator remixes my reel, and I'm thinking they're probably not going to do that. Like, the
Do
stakes
people really
couldn't be
worry about
lower.
that?
They do.
Really?
Yeah,
But
I get
that's
that. I get that from health coach students a lot, where they'll say, I'm scared to put myself out there. And we dig in, like, what's the fear? What if I say something stupid? What if somebody in the industry calls me out for saying something wrong? And it's like, I don't think they're watching. I don't think hardly anybody's watching, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly. But that's also part of the fun. Maybe some people don't agree with that, but for me, I'm like, that's part of the fun, in the sense of like, this should be a discussion about ideas. The best ideas should rise to the top. If you're too scared to put your ideas out there because someone might ridicule them, why are you doing this in the first place? And that's, no offense to the people who are watching who have that fear. I get it. But to be honest, like, this is a different type of practice, these types of health things, at least that I'm talking about, or that many of you are probably talking about. And you expect like just everyone to bend over backwards and just say, oh, yes, you're right, you're correct, and we were so wrong. That's not going to happen for you. And it shouldn't happen for you, because the world is formed and people get stronger and better by ideas going back and forth and building each other up and finding what the best solution is. Mm-hmm. So I don't think that should be a fear for anyone, really, because to be honest, it's a great thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they say if you don't have haters, then you're not saying anything important enough. So,
that's right.
So you welcome trolls by the sound of it.
Not as much the trolls. Yeah, I've had many trolls, and some of them better than others. But people who actually want to engage in the content, I think that's a fantastic thing. And one thing that you can do to build a lot of trust with your audience is the people who are the kind of instigators in your comments, or are going and doing that stuff. Talk about it in the comments. Go and respond and show that do know what you're talking about, and you're able to disagree without having it be vitriolic.
Yes. That's great. I love that. Very cool. So let's keep talking about business stuff. How intentional has your brand strategy been? It sounds like, we just talked about this. You talk about the things you care about, but have you put something, like, do you have a team? Is there a team that's helping you with brand strategy, messaging, marketing? How is this structured in terms of getting your message out there, and even how you execute operations in your business?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the marketing and stuff, I'm basically the entire team.
Wow.
When it comes to that. Yeah. So there's a lot of stuff to do, and I'm meeting with all the vendors and, and checking out all the stuff that they're doing and everything. We have a team of 4 guys. We have done Pure Basics Collective without any investment. We've done it all just bootstrapping it, because I don't know, I didn't want to be told by anyone what I could or couldn't do. And, saying, well, you have to list these products. And I'm like, well, I don't believe in these products. Well, you have to list them for the bottom. I just didn't want to do that kind of stuff. So starting off, we didn't have anything like that. So to be honest, it's just us 4. There's 4 of us. I'm the CEO, basically in charge of all the marketing and meeting with all the vendors. And then we have our tech and financials, and then operations, dealing with all legal and contract stuff. And it's a very slim team, and we're all kind of doing all sorts of different stuff. Except for me on the tech. I don't do anything tech because I'm very stupid when it comes to these kind of things. But other than that, yeah, I mean, the strategy is really just find those types of people who are going to be the ones who actually align with your message.
Yeah.
Again, trying to line up with people who, especially if you're spending money on ad dollars, like spending your ads on people who aren't going to buy your product is just a waste of time and money. Yeah. You should be really trying to hone in on those people who already have some buy-in to what you're trying to do.
I don't know if I'm crazy, but
you might be.
I might be.
I am too.
Well, yeah, we're all a little crazy, but to me, to have built something like this with just 4 of you bootstrapping it sounds high pressure, but I'm not picking up a high pressure, high stress vibe from you. Is that because you've perfected the art of masking stress, managing stress, or is it because you're so mission driven? What's your secret?
It's just a facade, underneath this exterior, there's a lot of emotion and pain going on. Yeah. No, I feel really good about it. I feel really happy with what we've created, I understand, again, the niche that we are in. We're not trying to reach every single person who's going to be shopping on Amazon. We're not going to be doing $1 billion in revenue, like in the first years, like that's crazy. Like, we have the people that we're trying to reach and continuing on that. And it feels very good every time that we get someone saying, oh, I ordered this product and I absolutely loved it. It was a life-changing thing. Like, that's why we're doing it for. And, to be honest, with the slim team, we all get along really well. It feels really good. There's no HR department, there's nothing like that. It's all just just people who really care about it and doing everything they can as much as they can. Like the other three guys, they have full-time jobs that they're doing while they're also doing Pure Basics at the same time. You know, I'm the only one who's kind of, I guess you say, full-time on it in that way. But yeah, we all just really love it. We all really believe in it. And so to be honest, no matter what happens, I'm not too stressed about it. Because also it's like, I know that it's a fantastic thing. I know the products are fantastic. The vendors we have are fantastic. And if people don't like that or aren't ready to wake up, I don't think that says anything about how we did. I think it has a lot to do with just that the world isn't ready. The culture isn't ready, you know?
Yeah, right. Or that segment of the culture is not ready, so they're not your audience anyway. It's interesting because I think one of the hang-ups or hurdles that anybody entering any category of the health and wellness space is that it's noisy and saturated is the word. A lot of health coaches will say it's already saturated. People are already doing this. How do you answer that? I mean, surely the food and lifestyle retail space was quote unquote saturated, but you entered it anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, in terms of that, I mean, nowhere is vetting the products like we vet the products. Right. I mean, if you go onto our website and you look at the different products that we have, I mean, the diligence that we've done to make sure every single product matches these, I guess you could say, ancestral type of primal type of, standards, very clean, very pure, simple. Like nowhere else is doing that. Nowhere else is doing it to the level that we are doing it. And so there is a space for that, for that kind of niche in that sense. Not everyone's going to be into it. Some people are still going to go to, Whole Foods or whatever, and that's fine. But there is that segment. But I do know that, like, going back to, part of my start and doing politics and stuff like that, when I started out there, this was 8 years ago, I was doing man on the street videos from a political angle. No one was doing it back then. No one was doing it like that, and especially in the way that I was doing it and a lot of things. And now everywhere you look, there's like another political influencer and they're doing man on the street videos and all this stuff. And I'm just like, what am I supposed to do? And now they're faking it with AI or fake interviews. And I'm like, I can't even be a part of this anymore. What am I supposed to do? And so in the health market, it's very similar in the same way that it is saturated. There are so many people trying to do it. I think that a lot of it comes down to not necessarily the coaches and the people who actually care about it. I think it comes down to the people who are the I guess you say clientele, the people who would be purchasing these programs or digesting this type of information to make better decisions about the people and the time that they are choosing to spend on these different types of influencers or health coaches or whoever, because they're the ones who are giving people who don't actually care the clout and recognition for people who are just on it as bandwagoners who say, oh, wow, it's like all these new trad wife moms and stuff like this who aren't actually trad, but want to pretend like it, And so what I'm trying to say is that there's a lot of fakes out there, and it takes the consumers to actually start waking up and hopefully be better about their time choosing who they actually follow and look at.
That's an interesting perspective, because I think we go back to the earlier point, which was, health coaches are afraid to put themselves out there because everybody's already saying everything. And sort of the unspoken parenthetical is, but a lot of them are kind of phony or cheap shyster, whatever. Mm-hmm. So it's like, goes back to what you said earlier, which is if you can just consistently put a message out that you're passionate about and, not shut up about it, and then don't quit. So you persevere longer than these flash in the pans will, the time is going to pass anyway. You'll establish yourself as a leader, or you'll establish yourself. And I think that it's the quitting that gets in the way for a lot of people.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. But it's also one thing, you and I, we just talked about our echo chamber. I was just in LA last week. I was talking to some people about raw milk, and, I feel like, I'm like, oh, of course they know what this is. Everyone's talking about it. They're like, what is raw milk? I'm like, what do you mean, what is raw milk? It's just unpasteurized milk. You never heard of this before? They're like, no. And so you think that everybody has heard this before. But again, when there is a billion videos coming out basically every single day on social media on one of these things, just because you're seeing it, because you're in the health space and your algorithm favors that, doesn't mean that everyone else is obsessed with health as you are, Yeah. And so a lot of people just haven't seen this stuff that you might think they have.
That's right. That's the filter bubble effect. And quick anecdote, not really that interesting, but somehow the algorithm served me one makeup tutorial. I don't know if you know about this. I don't know if your girlfriend knows about this. There's a makeup tutorial branch of Instagram. Just girls putting makeup on. And I don't care about it, but I got served one video and I watched it just with like a morbid curiosity. What am I watching here? And now all I get is makeup tutorials, right? So what I'm getting at is
It's awful.
there's the little clusters of content, and health coaches are in the health and wellness filter bubble. So we think just to your point, everyone's talking about raw milk. Everybody knows this stuff already. Everybody already knows they need to take a walk and lift weights. Why would I bother saying it again? And it's like, because there are other people who are going to stumble across your video, like I stumbled across a makeup tutorial, and have their mind blown. So you might as well just say it. If it's passionate, it doesn't hurt to repeat things you're passionate about. Somebody will pick it up. People who don't need to pick it up.
What else are you doing?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what else are you doing? Just sitting, waiting for clients? I mean, what you got to go put yourself out there. Unfortunately, or fortunately in some cases, is the day and age that we live in where social media dominates everything. Yep. You can't just put flyers at your local rock climbing gym and expect to get a ton of clients now. It's really about getting on social media and making those videos and just influencing people to know different information.
That's a good point. Actually, use the word influence in its original form. We're influencing people to make their own decisions. And now I think the word influencer's gotten this sort of tainted thing. But, students will ask me, do I have to go on social media? It's so low vibe. And I'll say, yeah, you do. You do. Because you can leave business cards at the chiropractor's office, but that's going to take a long time. Why not? It's free. It's out there. Everybody's already on their phones all day anyway. And you can be influential without trying to be an influencer. I just think there's a little bit of we have to make a little distinction there. People get a little freaked out by that.
I know, which is strange because when you talk to most young people, all they want to do is be influencers, but not all the health coaches, I guess. They have different priorities, which is great to hear that that's the case. But unfortunately, it's just where everything is. You want to reach people, that's where you have to be. But I do think there is a lot of merit in actually email marketing as well. Mm-hmm. And if you're not tapping into other people's email lists, even if like you're working with some smaller brand, but they have an email list of, a few thousand people who are already basically bought into what you're doing, see if you can set up some sort of deal with these people's email lists. Get into one of their emails that they're sending out to their subscribers already. Like, people get kind of worn out on the social media, the scrolling, especially now that it's so easy to scroll with Reels and TikTok. Go into the emails, and there's a difference there, I think, of being a part of something like that. I think there's a kind of, I don't want to say a resurgence because everyone's doing emails in a sense, but there is something quite different about being in the email list, and you can get into them quite easily.
Oh, interesting. Oh, I'm going to write that down on my to-do list, start getting other people's email lists. What is your vision for the future of Pure Basics Collective and Do Not Comply? Everything. How big do you want to go? What's the plan?
I mean, I would love for Pure Basics to completely take off. The thing that I really want from Pure Basics is, because we'll get suppliers or vendors who will come in and say, man, I'd love to be a part of Pure Basics. I'm like, okay, let's meet. We meet, I talk to them, and I say, hey, I'm very happy for you and what you're doing, but your products I'm sorry, they don't align with what we're trying to do here. We can't, have that. One thing we also have on Pure Basics, we have a specialist page. So we actually have health coaches, doctors, people who are listed on our site for people who, again, I've vetted them to make sure that they align with the same type of practices that we have, and then we list them on the site for people to get in touch with and do that kind of thing. But with that being said, in this sense, it's like I want people to see the specialists that we have on the page or see the products that we have on the page and have a call with me, and I say, hey, I'm sorry, we can't list you because you don't align with our standards, and feel not downtrodden about it, but inspired. And say, okay, there has to be something new that I can do. I want people to see these new things happening in health and say, wow, I feel really inspired about what's going on right now, and I want to make a change. This is the time, because you have RFK Jr. in office, and let's say he comes in and he changes everything. Raw milk is legal, and there's no more seed oils or whatever, whatever you believe in, all these different things completely changed. Even if that's the case, people are still going to make bad decisions. Yeah. People are still going to be unhealthy. And so really it comes down to these people's personal choices and motivation. And so I want Pure Basics and the Do Not Comply Health and all these things to be a motivator, an inspiration for people to aspire to be more than what they've done. That they can say, okay, there are people who are really doing this. I'm not alone in this, and I can make a change for myself, my family, and my community at large. If we can do that, that's a win in my book.
Wow, that's a really cool, quote unquote, growth strategy. It's almost reading like a return to basics, human to human connection, literally vetting individuals. Yeah, pure basics. Mm-hmm. Well, it's almost like you knew when you named it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, cool. I'm going to hit you with a grand finale question, one of those hard, fun, cute questions that people do at the end of podcasts. Are you ready?
My favorite.
What one core principle of health do you believe every person should adopt? One.
Oh, this one, I'll say one that not everyone's saying. Go out and do something fun, sporty, something like that. Go play in a game. Like I rock climb. My girlfriend and I, we just got a badminton net. We play badminton all the time. It's so hard. I don't know if you ever really played badminton.
Not really.
Yeah, it's much more exhausting than you think. But all these like neurons are hitting in your brain and causing all sort of great epigenetic effects when you're actually going and playing games, doing sports, things like that. Whether that's, I also do disc golf, or ultimate frisbee or, basketball, whatever it is that is your thing that you like. Go and do that more than you are doing it now. It will make you feel so good. You're getting healthy. You're connecting with people in real life, not on your phone. Go out and do those kind of things. I'm about to start in an ultimate frisbee league, hopefully myself here in Florida. And, I know Mark Sisson does ultimate frisbee and all that. But I think there's just so much value in the play aspect and the going and doing sports and activities and competition with other people that I think we've lost in a lot of ways. Also with the whole like everybody gets a trophy just for competing and that kind of stuff. It's like just go and compete and try and win. Be the winner and have fun when you do it.
Wow. As soon as you said that, I had a pang of nostalgia for just like going out and playing, meeting your friends at the ball diamond or, whatever. Great.
It's so great. It's so great. Yeah. Especially even people you don't know. Like go and meet new people and who share similar interests and go do it with them. That's what I did with rock climbing, and it's been just phenomenal. I absolutely love it now.
Oh, that's on my list of things to try.
Oh, you got to.
You heard it here first, people. Will Witt just declared badminton the new pickleball. So.
Oh, it's way more fun than pickleball. Way more. And you can play it without any shoes on. You can play it in the grass, no shoes on, ground at the same time. Yeah, it's great.
Amazing. Oh my gosh. Well, this is a really fun conversation. Well, I appreciate you jumping all around the map with me here. Just really inspiring and cool to hear what you're doing. And I always personally love connecting with a Primal health coach, one of my peeps, but I really need to see how somebody who, like yourself, who cares a lot about health and wellness, has their own personal health experience, and how we can parlay that into just any type of health business you can imagine, including an online farmer's market and anything in between. So really cool. I really appreciate you being here. Well, thanks so much.
No, thank you. I appreciate you asking me to come on. That really means a lot. I didn't expect that, so thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. All right. We'll see you soon, Will.
Sounds good. Thank you.
This podcast was brought to you by Primal Health Coach Institute. To learn more about how to become a successful health coach, get in touch with us by visiting primalhealthcoach.com/call. Or if you're already a successful health coach, practitioner, influencer, or thought leader with a thriving business and an interesting story, we'd love to hear from you. Connect with us at hello@primalhealthcoach.com and let us know why we need to interview you for Health Coach Radio. Thanks for listening.